Hey guys, welcome to another interview of AutiMuse Podcast. Today I'm joined by Greg Davies, who's a member of Seashell Trust charity organization who specializes in music and autism. Welcome to the show, Greg. Greg, great to have you.
Hi, nice to meet you. You okay?
Yeah, doing pretty well, thanks. Yeah. I just found out about Seashell Trust through a friend of mine from uni, and I know I've read a bit about the music and autism, and your colleague said that you specialize in that subject. Because what is it that you do with like teaching music with the to autistic people?
I think the first thing to mention is that we don't just support young people with autism here. We work with a range of different disabilities,
Yeah,
uh, ranging from sensory level students with multiple and profound physical difficulties and learning difficulties.
yeah.
And we also work with students who are sort of on the entry level, which
Okay.
is sort of a reasonably high cognitive ability, but with learning difficulties as well. So we don't just specialize in autism, but obviously, I think probably me personally, having worked with people with autism for 15 to 20 years now, is probably where I specialize from a music teaching point of view.
Really?
So yeah, I've
Yeah.
forgotten the question now.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, because well, being in the spectrum myself, I mean, I was diagnosed at the age of 6, mainly on the high functioning side of the spectrum, and I've started playing guitar at the age of 12 and started learning more about the basics, but also making up to the advanced level into music theory and
Yeah,
making up to studio production as well. Because well, from my experience, I have like taught a few relatives how to play guitar, but like it was quite hard for me to communicate, especially like trying to come up with the correct words. Like being in the spectrum, it's well, I started off as non-verbal to begin with, but then
okay.
as I started like learning music, I started to like express my emotions clearly, understand how other people feel, but
Yeah,
also like develop a good sense of speech as well. Because like have any of
brilliant.
the students that you've taught over the years have like had that same problem, but also like developed this good sense of speech in some way?
Yes, so a big part of our curriculum for working with people with autism, sort of like the opening statement is we use music as a vehicle to support communication, social interaction, and flexibility of thought, which is the triad of impairment. I don't know if you're aware of the triad of impairment. Have you heard of that statement before?
I don't think I have, no. No.
Okay, so that is basically sort of how people like yourself and people with autism are diagnosed on where they are within this triad of impairment.
Yeah.
And a lot of the students that we work with here are sort of not really, a lot of the students aren't high functioning students with
No.
autism. They're sort of, they can have autism alongside a lot of different other
Right.
learning difficulties as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'll give you some examples. Some students who might be noise sensitive might come into sessions and we would work on developing their tolerance of noise through planned activities.
Yeah.
Then from there, we develop on their maybe musical abilities, their communication skills, and social interaction skills. So a lot of the sessions that I run are group sessions where we encourage social interaction between the students. So
Yeah.
we would do like I have a sort of a section in the sessions which is called like a drumming workshop where we're
Okay.
just working on beats and rhythms. But the idea is that we try and challenge the students to work together to create a beat and a rhythm, often using numbers and formulas that create different beats and rhythms.
Yeah, like in relation to music theory, like basically like the
Mm.
rhythm part of it, yeah. Because of it, well, being a composer, like I write my own songs, but in like different time signatures. Because I grew up listening to like mainly progressive rock music, such bands like Genesis and
Brilliant.
also Dream Theater and
Yeah.
Tool as well. Because I know like they in Tool's like one of the best bands to like come up with like really odd time signatures, but also
Yeah.
like make it work. So it can be like but it's good to like start for the basics first, like you taught your students as
Yeah,
well. It's
well, I
like
think one of the most important things that we have to sort of remember when
yeah,
we're teaching music in at the Seashell Trust is there is students with musical ability, and um, we do have a session which caters for students who show a particular interest and ability in music. But a
yeah,
lot of the time, the aim of the session is to really encourage social interaction and communication.
yeah,
Um, it we are obviously using musical activities to try and get into encouraging that, if you see what I mean. So
Yeah,
whilst the beats and rhythms and actually in the group that I'm teaching now, it has become quite complex. But that whilst that's good, it's not really the end goal for
mm,
what I'm trying to achieve there. I'm trying to get students to be okay in the environment, if that makes sense, without being
yeah,
worried or anxious or
yeah.
in
Because
any
I know,
way
like,
flustered.
mm,
I'm trying, and also I suppose you're trying to support the students to, in a safe environment, reach their creative sort of potential, I suppose.
yeah, yeah. That's
But
really
it's
good. That.
yeah, good.
Yeah, because it's like well, being well, because like it's been like a specialist skill. It's basically music. Because I know it's like I've known quite a few students both in college and university. Because I'm a master's student at Salford. I have got to know some
Sorry, where
students.
do you study? Salford.
Yeah, Salford University. Yeah, I
I mean,
studied
I've
there.
studied there many
Yeah,
years ago.
it's great. Really, yeah. It's a well, it is really great in music as well because I've worked in studios before with like some independent artists. Like I've worked with a band called Wingspread, producing a album for their second album, and I did work with a band called Sugarstone one time. They were like they're like slowly but surely making it slightly bigger now, and I'm also working with a singer-songwriter named Tom Lerner. I've helped him out record some songs for his recording portfolio that's just been released on Spotify, and
Brilliant.
we're working on the second album coming out next year as well. So we've but mainly when it comes to working in the music industry, because like I said, I know like quite a few students who are in the spectrum themselves, but also have experience in the music industry as performers, then like
Mhm.
producers and composers. But at the same time, it is a really struggling business to get to, especially when getting recognition. But let's like, has any students like made thought about like because they're passionate about music, want to like work in the industry further forward, like into higher education?
Yeah, so no, I mean, we wouldn't really have too many students who would succeed in the industry as it was potentially used to be. Obviously, the industry has changed somewhat
Yeah,
over the
that's
years. I mean, I suppose anybody can be within the industry now with the use of like SoundCloud and these kind of things.
yeah, absolutely.
Kind of technically are in the industry then, aren't you? And like
Yeah.
um, our biggest success stories have really come from students performing in situations with like the Halle Orchestra, which has been like a tremendous achievement. So, in fact, I'll just plug it now actually, we've got a performance coming up on the 21st of December, which you're welcome to
Oh,
come to actually, if you'd like to.
yeah, that'll be lovely.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's at the Halle St. Peter's, which is the Halle's like sort of base area. I mean, for smaller shows, and then if they obviously do bigger shows at the Bridgewater Hall. But there's 7 students going to be performing at that, three of which do have very severe autism.
Okay.
Now, um, that is a tremendous achievement for those students because I can think of one in particular who would have struggled to even come in the room at the beginning of term, would have been so anxious about coming in, and now
Yeah.
he's singing with a 26-piece orchestra with a 100-strong crowd. And it's not just any old orchestra, is it? It's a
No.
good orchestra, and they're working in rehearsals. They're able to communicate with their fellow band members, and that's all through music. Now, it's great that they are performing music, but
Yeah.
the bigger achievement is, and I'd like to think over the 3 or 4 years that they're with us,
Yeah.
that that ability to interact with 5 or 6 different students and an orchestra and a crowd of 100 will
Mm,
follow through into other aspects of their life.
yeah.
Like going to, I don't know, I can't think of anything, like going to a supermarket that's
Mm,
quite busy.
yeah.
I mean, it would be challenging, but we're using music. We've broken the boundary through music, if you see what I mean. So
Yeah.
then you can add on to that and say they are musically talented as well. They've got some
Yeah.
talent, which is good.
Yeah.
Uh, but I mean, in terms of breaking into the industry as it traditionally was,
Yeah.
these students are very unlikely to go away and write music after college or school.
Yeah.
This
Definitely.
is not really the point of the music sessions here too much. I mean, it is to bring well-being and
Yeah. because
and,
you're making
and
connections along the way,
yeah,
aren't you? Like getting
yeah,
to know other
yeah,
people. Like, especially when it comes to like social media as well, because it's say if you like go on TikTok, as I know TikTok in particular is becoming even popular than any other social media site today.
yeah,
And but on at the same time, it's good to make connections through TikTok the most because it's like say if somebody did a TikTok live, but also get to know them as they join their live videos, it's you can ask them questions along the way, and also like send them your portfolio as well, like
that's
because it's
right. I
not
mean,
like
yeah, I mean, we obviously we do have to be a little bit careful with TikTok and things like that here,
yes,
but I do know of I think they're called Autistica,
yeah,
and they're like a punk rock kind of outfit, and they are quite big on like Instagram and TikTok,
yeah,
and I think they're probably, if you don't mind me saying, like more of the sort of like yourself, really,
yeah,
students who have people who have autism,
yeah,
who are able to use music and get out there, as you say, and they're
yeah,
making a name for themselves. But every single member of that band is autistic,
yeah,
uh, and they release some quite quirky videos. It's quite cool actually.
yeah,
So yeah, if you get a chance to check them out, I think they're called Autistica, and then they actually did come and perform at our place pre-COVID. It was so
mm.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
Social media is a great thing for not for anyone in the industry, if you like,
Yeah, it's
as long as you don't believe in the comments.
but yeah, I mean, I do like believe like I know social media can be a reliable source to some people, but particularly TikTok. But it's good to like promote yourself outside of social media because it's like
100%.
it's better recognition for the your local audience to size
Yeah, I mean,
globally in some way.
away from the autism thing, I think as a musician, if you want to
Yeah,
work in the industry, uh, social media shouldn't be too high on your on your
yeah,
principles. You're going to need to get out there and
yeah,
perform, and play with people, and get hired. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Don't just
yeah.
make a video because you
No,
can
no.
make a decent video out of 100 takes, but if you can
Yeah.
go and do it live, that's what counts.
Yeah, it's good. It's good that you had to perform live so you can get recognition as well. Because I know like this is quite a lot of companies like that specialize mainly in the musical side of mainly performance, technology, also composition who are looking for like quite successful musicians these days. But like the depending on like how you organize your own business, like I've like applied for jobs like for many companies that specialize in music, but keep getting rejections. But it's like the
Right.
only question I have like is because I'm writing a book about the music industry, particularly for like music and autism in higher
Okay.
education, lower and like in the music industry itself. But the only question I had was like how do they know you're not good enough if you don't let them try? But it's kind of like it's
Yeah.
not like a harsh question, but it's like but that's like a question I like to ask people that how do they know you're not good enough if you don't let them try? That's that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's the age-old question, I'm afraid.
Yeah,
It's, I mean, I've been doing music for since I was 12 and I'm 42 now, so 30 years. And
yeah,
um, yeah, I mean, industry, but it's changed so much since I was young. I mean,
yeah,
when I was young and playing in bands that were trying to make it as such, it was all about, going to a record company and seeing if they could produce records or help you produce records. But now it's
yeah,
completely changed. Record companies are
yeah,
pretty irrelevant now, and I think that's a good thing. But I think there's a lot of work to be done in the
yeah.
industry in terms
It
of
is, yeah. Mm.
how we pay artists through streaming and things like that.
Yeah,
The opportunities are much better now than when I was younger,
yeah,
but the financial reward is no better now than when I was younger. So
mm,
like I
yeah.
still play a lot of gigs and things like that.
Oh, good, yeah.
And the difference in pay does not reflect like normal work, if you
No,
know what I mean.
yeah, I see what you mean by that. Yeah, mm,
Yeah. So I would like go and do a sort of standard gig now for say £300,
yeah,
and I was earning £250 20 years ago. Do you see what I mean? So
yeah,
these kind
it,
of things need changing, and I think the Performing Rights Society and the Musicians Union in particular, are
yeah,
certainly working uh,
yeah.
on that.
because of the PRS, like Performing Rights Society, I did like try asking a lot of questions to like some students who are already working in the music industry, but also like it is PRS essential for like if you want to like promote yourself through the music industry in some way?
I think it is if you're a composer, yeah. So I write and release a lot of music, and I ensure that the performing. I'll give you a little story actually on that.
Mhm.
So I released an album about 2011,
Okay.
an instrumental album, and and it was picking up streams and things like that. But what it did do is the Performing Rights Society noticed that like a 20-second clip of one of my songs was being played on like a Norwegian radio
Wow.
station. Well, it was wow,
Yeah.
but I didn't know about it. So, um,
Yeah. Yeah.
so then I was able to get in touch with them because the Performing Rights Society had tracked it down,
Okay.
and then I was able to negotiate a deal where I sold them. I actually sold them the song in the end, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
rather than take royalties on it.
No.
Uh, but I would not have known about any of that if it hadn't been for the Performing Rights Society.
Yeah. It's
And
really good.
and actually, that I mean, it's going back over 10 years now.
Yeah.
The Musicians Union was supported me within that as well. Gave me advice
Yeah.
anyway. I mean, not that I needed much really. Everyone was great, but
Mm.
it's worth being part of both of those things, especially if you're releasing music. And it's really
Yeah.
important that you keep your publishing if you're releasing music.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there because I know like because Performing Rights Society is like quite essential to some people, but at the same time there is like a few that don't have PRS licenses, but
Mm.
like stream the music online anyway. But it's like in terms of recognition, it's I because I'm only just like releasing my albums through Spotify now. I'm not too sure what's like the next step, but it's like if you like advise like any students who want to like make a living out of the music industry, but also want to get to know more about the industry by making connections, like what advice would you give them if they want to like work for the music industry as a solo artist or with a band?
Well, I've got to be honest with you. I think it's really hard to do
Mm.
one thing in the music industry.
Yeah.
So, uh, and when you say industry, I'm just going to say that I get paid to do music. If you know,
Yeah.
let's just like use that as the starting point. So I
Yeah.
think that teaching is a really important thing.
Yeah.
To bring in regular financial, regular finance.
Yeah. Bring it back.
um, um, then you've got to maybe you could go into the area where I have gone into, which is sort of music therapy,
Yeah.
music, working with people who have disabilities and
Yeah.
autism,
Yeah.
and using music as a therapy, really. So
Yeah.
you've got instrument teaching, and then the thing that I'm working at the Seashell Trust for. Then on top of that, you've got to do cover band gigs, I would say,
Mm.
if you
Yeah.
want to make real money,
Yeah. That's right.
you
Yeah.
won't get paid for
Yeah.
performing original music.
No.
That's never really been the case.
Mm.
And then you probably want to have a fairly successful YouTube channel or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the last thing is you probably like want to release your own music,
Yeah.
and you want to probably do it in two ways. You want to release it on, like you say, on all streaming platforms.
Yeah.
Uh, and then I've just released something fun enough, but then I have physical CDs which have recouped already the cost of the making of the album.
All right.
So I've now made absolutely no money from it, but I'm not broke from it either.
Oh.
You know what I mean? So,
Yeah. But,
and
at least
so
you're doing like
basically what
something
I'm
you like.
saying is if you want to do something in the industry, you
Yeah.
can't now just be a rock star.
No.
If you like, you can't just be a performer. You've got to do everything. You've got to do a bit of everything, which is
Yeah.
actually so much better because
Yeah.
20 years ago when I was playing in bands, all these out loud, we didn't have like the internet wasn't a thing really.
No. No.
I did a little bit of teaching.
Yeah.
I said 20 years ago, it's probably more like 22 years ago, sadly.
Mm.
So you really did have to just perform and play gigs, and
Mm.
it was hard. It was really
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
And
Because
and the older you get, the harder that gets, and the more disillusioned you become with it. But
yeah.
now, I'm quite happy with the different aspects of music that that I do. You have to have different income streams, really.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's really great advice. That because it would be great for like anybody who's like in the autistic spectrum who wants to promote themselves musically. There is like you get a good backup plan as well because I know teaching is also good. Like um, say if you not as not big in the music industry today, or you're just like not making as much, then teaching is like a good backup plan because like there is like a few people I know from uni that has have have experience performing, but also teach on the
Yeah,
sidelines as well, but also
yeah,
like, have backup jobs as well. But it's
yeah,
like, but yeah, money is like the I don't like to sound too stingy or anything like that, but it's like it's money's important, but but music's like something you love to do. Like it's like you
yeah,
can't just like
absolutely. Yeah, you have to be highly motivated if you want to do it and live.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, going back to your students, because have any of your students like this have thought about like learning more about the music, the technology side of music, say like
Yeah,
production?
so that was an aspect that I was going to talk to you about actually. So here we use, so this isn't really the students with autism, I will
No.
be honest. So this is for students who have sort of physical disabilities.
Okay.
This is mainly in the school where I use this equipment. So I should explain, Seashell Trust has a college on site and school on site, and it's a residential setting as well. So students
Yeah.
live here. So in school, we um, we have something called a sound beam,
Yeah.
uh, which is, I don't know if you've heard of one of those.
Sound room. Yeah. Like in a recording studio, you got like a live room and a control room. Is that what you mean, or am I
Not quite.
thinking
So
of-
it's like a sound beam. So it's like a piece of technology
Oh yeah.
which is MIDI programmed,
All right. Yeah.
um, and you have sort of 2 or 3 beams set up. These beams are like invisible,
Okay.
okay?
Yeah.
And students can put like a hand in the beam or put their bodies in the beam, and it'll play notes from a scale that you've programmed in. So say if you've
Oh.
programmed in a piano and you're playing in the guitar in C major,
All right.
for
Yeah.
example, the student can press or put their hands into this beam and it'll play notes from the C major scale on piano sound.
Yeah.
So we're actually going to use that in the summer alongside the orchestra
Yeah.
to showcase the technology that we're here using here.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to really getting on with that. And we are going to be using more and more technology here. We've
Yeah.
also got something called an omni beam, which is beams that shine down. We've got the fixed in the ceiling of our sort of
Okay.
performance hall, and
Yeah.
the beams that shine down, and each beam is a different drum.
All right. Yeah.
So it's like really cool. So the student can stand in the beam and it'll play like a
Yeah.
drum roll or something like that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So
There's like
yeah,
omnidirectional, like picking up frequencies everywhere. Yeah. Because
yeah, exactly. The whole
yeah.
room becomes an instrument really, and
Yeah.
that's something we're using a lot now,
Yeah.
in an area that we've worked with. Have you ever heard of the Drake Music Project?
I think I have, but I don't remember much
It's
about it,
quite,
to be
when
honest.
I was young and studying like you, they were just starting, and we've worked with them quite a lot to develop our knowledge on music technology and people who have physical disabilities, and so they're able to
Yeah.
access music and be
Okay.
part of like a band situation, if you like, through technology. So
Yeah.
it's quite good.
Yeah. It's just like I know music technology is like you got like different areas, like the especially the production side of it, because I know like this well say if in college they get you to like teach you the other production softwares like particularly Logic Pro X because I use that a lot for studio production purposes. But
Yeah.
I've also used Pro Tools as well because I know it's well I used to have Pro Tools, but I stopped using it now because it was a bit too technical for me. But Logic, on the other hand,
It's a bit
it's
more straightforward logic, isn't it?
yeah,
A
like Logic
bit
Pro
more
X,
logical.
much more easy.
um,
And they really like, update the software now. You can easily master your own audio in a much easier way from what I've seen in the updates. But like it would be great like teaching like not just like people with autism, but like other learning difficulties as well, like how the software works, but also like mainly relying on your hearing than just like
yeah.
what you
So I
think.
mean, again, we have done some recording here.
All
In
right.
fact, about 4 years ago, we recorded a Seashell album.
Hmm.
Um, we used GarageBand in the main because
Yeah.
we didn't at the time have the facility
No.
to to have like a studio situation.
Yeah.
So we didn't have like a room as such. So we were portably record, and actually the students, because a lot of students, uh, so a lot of our students can be quite anxious, so they might go for a
Yeah.
walk. So we were recording on the move quite a
Mm.
bit. So garage band, like was
Yeah.
quite good for capturing.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, because I know GarageBand because I know it's like I've used it in high school. It's like
Yeah,
'cause I know GarageBand's like a much more easy version compared to Logic.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
as I see, obviously the windows look the same, the audio files and MIDI files, everything else is easy.
Yes.
It's like, but now today, because now like in the music industry years ago, like everything used to be around London. It's like you got like a lot of recording studios
Yeah.
and compositional
Yeah.
studios and many more. But now there's quite a lot opening up in Manchester recently. I think now it's quite easy to like get from one place to the other because like
Well, I
say if
mean,
say if you want to record an album but like record it locally, then I've got like connections with Habitat Studios around Manchester City Centre. The recording environment is really good, but but now I think if you want to record an album, it's much easier than just like going miles away over to London than just like
well,
going.
again, when we were younger, and it was the late 90s, early 2000s when I was
Yeah,
in bands doing that kind of thing. And we would play in London at least 3 times a month, and traveling up from Manchester could be quite tiresome.
yeah, can be.
But I mean, again, the internet wasn't anywhere like it is now,
No, no,
back then. Um, the whole world is open to you, I never thought I'd be selling my music to people in America at the click of a button 20 years ago. I mean, that's
yeah,
incredible to me. But I mean, people of your age have grown up with that. But
yeah,
the world is much more accessible now, isn't it?
yeah,
So,
it is. Yeah.
and that's a good thing. The only bad thing is with that, you get great opportunities, but it's hard to get paid for all those opportunities.
Yeah, it's
Not that
ridiculous.
it should always, like you say, it shouldn't
No,
all be about the money, but
no.
the minute you start giving art away for free, really, it's very hard to get it back.
Yeah, but as long as it's something that you love, but also like to carry on doing it,
You
it
have to do it out of love, but
yeah,
then to,
yeah,
but then to to you have got to live, otherwise you can't produce anything. You know what I mean? So you've got, and if your skill is music, you've got to have an ability to teach,
mm,
record,
yeah,
perform, uh, and all those things that I mentioned earlier.
yeah,
Are really important if you want to
mm,
live in this.
yeah, yeah. That's great. That yeah, it's just well, yeah. Well, thanks very much for your time, Greg. Yeah, it's been an absolute honor having you in part of the show, and I really learned a lot for like how the music industry works, but also how it could not just people with autism in general, but like other people with learning difficulties can actually know how it works. Because it's
Fantastic.
but yeah, because but it's like you said, like for me, it's like how you've experienced it back when you were performing, but also like the connections you made over the years, but also like how you've got into teaching as well. It would be,
Yeah.
like I said, it's like a great backup plan.
Well, yeah. I mean, like years ago, we had. I was up and down the country doing the whole making it thing. I just don't think that's necessary anymore. Really,
No,
I don't
no,
think it's as necessary as it used to be.
no,
Um, I think you can sort of you can make a living really through, like I say, you can. One of the things though, I mean, if you want to make it like a 9 to 5 job almost, so so like me nowadays, I have a family, and
yeah,
I have and I work in music,
yeah,
and to make that work, throughout the day I can be at Seashell,
yeah,
and then in the evening I can do a gig, and
yeah,
then on a Saturday I'm teaching.
yeah,
You've got to be organized. You know what I mean? You've got to be
yeah,
organized. You've got to be on it. You can't just be. I mean, I'd love to sit and write songs all day, every day,
yeah,
but
right, yeah,
reality is, that's can't. So on this last album I've released, for
Mhm.
example, I sectioned off every Wednesday evening for the last 2 years for going
Yeah,
in and recording with people.
mm,
Uh, and now that can be quite challenging itself because you've got to get up for work the next day. But if
yeah,
you love it, you'll do it.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I forgot to mention this because I know there's like the music notation software as well because it's um because you got like Avid Technology. So for instance, like I mentioned about Pro Tools, but you also got Sibelius as well, which is like the music
Yeah,
notation
we're
software. Yeah,
using that a lot with the orchestra actually.
yeah, that's
Uh,
great. Yeah,
yeah, so we're using Sibelius all the time.
that's
So
great.
constantly, because I work with the musical director of the orchestra, the Halle Orchestra.
Oh, yeah.
So to create these songs for the students to thrive in,
Yeah.
we have to use Sibelius to send the files to each other. Do you see what I mean? So they
Yeah.
can then transcribe everything to the orchestra and things like that. So I mean
Yeah.
that's a really time-consuming aspect of my job actually at the moment.
Yeah.
But I love it. So and I love to see the students thrive in that environment. But
Yeah.
it's quite time-consuming because obviously writing music for a 26-piece orchestra. I've done that this weekend. I've written like the string section for the song that we're going to be performing
Mm.
on the 21st, Thursday the 21st.
21st, yeah.
So it is incredibly time consuming, but it's worth it. You know what I
Mm.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah. Well, thanks very much for your time, Greg. Yeah. Also, you can learn more about Seashell Trust on the description box below on like any upcoming music events and other ways to promote the business. And you can also learn more about Greg on his music. And yeah, thanks for watching, you guys, and I'll see you again soon. Thank you very much.
Thanks, mate. Bye.
Thanks.